The lobby echoed with footsteps. Polished marble. Glass walls. Quiet power. And right in the middle, a wheelchair stopped. The front wheels caught on a thin metal strip near the entrance. Click. The man tried again. Nothing. A few people slowed down. Looked. Then looked away. Except one. A sharp laugh cut through the space. Wow, that's rough. The man in the wheelchair looked up. Tall guy. Expensive suit. Coffee in hand. Watching like it was entertainment. You'd think they'd fix stuff like this, the suited man added, smirking. I mean, people like you come through here, right? Silence. The wheelchair user adjusted his grip. I'll manage, he said calmly. The suited man stepped closer. Too close. No, really, he said, lowering his voice. This building isn't exactly made for limitations. A few nearby employees chuckled. The man in the wheelchair didn't react. But his fingers tightened. Then, a security guard walked over. Sir, you need help, the guard asked. The suited man answered first. Yeah, he said, pointing casually. He's stuck. Again. The word hung there. Again. Like this was normal. Like this was expected. The man in the wheelchair finally spoke. Quiet. Precise. This entrance shouldn't be like this. The suited man smirked wider. Oh yeah, he said. And what would you know about that? A beat. The air shifted. Then the man in the wheelchair looked straight at him. And said, I designed it. The smile froze. The guard blinked. And somewhere upstairs, an elevator door opened. The wheel caught again. A small sound. Metal against rubber. But loud enough. The man stopped. Adjusted his grip. Pushed forward. Nothing. Behind him, the glass doors slid shut with a soft hiss. Timing too fast. He noticed that. He always noticed things like that. Need a hand. The voice wasn't kind. It carried a smile. He looked up. Same man. Suit. Coffee. Watching. I said I'm fine, the man in the wheelchair replied. Calm voice. Controlled. The suited man stepped closer anyway. You don't look fine, he said. You're stuck. A pause. Then softer. Again. The word landed harder this time. Like a label. The man in the wheelchair didn't answer. Instead, he leaned slightly. Checked the angle. Measured the strip with his eyes. Too raised. Wrong material. Bad placement. He exhaled slowly. A security guard approached. Sir, everything okay here? Before he could answer, the suited man jumped in. Yeah, he said. He just can't get over this part. The guard nodded slowly. Looked at the wheels. Then at the man. You want me to push you? The guard asked. Not rude. But not neutral either. The man in the wheelchair shook his head. No. I just need a second. The suited man chuckled. A second, he said. Man, this place is not built for delays. A few people nearby smiled. Some looked away quickly. No one stepped in. The man in the wheelchair tried again. This time, he angled slightly left. Pushed harder. The wheel lifted. Then dropped forward. Past the strip. He rolled in. Smooth. Quiet. Done. There you go, the suited man said. See. Not impossible. The man in the wheelchair turned slightly. Looked at him. Not angry. Not yet. This entrance is flawed, he said. The suited man raised an eyebrow. Flawed? Yes. A beat. The threshold is too high. The timing is off. The angle is wrong. The guard shifted. Uncomfortable. The suited man smiled again. You sound like an inspector. Another pause. Then, what do you do? He asked. The man in the wheelchair held his gaze. I design spaces. A small silence followed. Then laughter. Short. Dismissive. Right, the suited man said. And I'm the mayor. More chuckles. The guard didn't laugh this time. He just watched. Carefully. The man in the wheelchair didn't react. He turned slightly. Looked deeper into the lobby. Clean lines. Expensive finishes. Beautiful. But imperfect. He saw every flaw. Every barrier. Every oversight. You should report it, the guard said quietly. The man nodded. I will. The suited man shook his head. Good luck with that, he muttered. These decisions are made way above. He tapped his own chest lightly. People like me handle that. A pause. Then he added. No offense. The man in the wheelchair looked back at him. Still calm. Still steady. None taken. But his eyes changed. Just slightly. The suited man didn't notice. He checked his watch. Anyway, he said, I've got a meeting upstairs. Real work. He took a step back, then stopped. Turned again. You know, he added, lowering his voice, places like this aren't really designed for limitations. There it was again. That word. Soft. But sharp. The man in the wheelchair didn't respond right away. The lobby felt quieter now. Even the footsteps seemed slower. Then, he spoke. This building was designed for everyone. The suited man smiled. No, he said. It wasn't. A beat. Then, because if it was, he gestured to the entrance behind them, you wouldn't have struggled like that. Silence. The guard looked down. Someone across the lobby stopped walking. Just for a second, then kept going. The man in the wheelchair placed his hands on the rims again. Not to move. Just resting there. Grounded. Then he looked up. Straight at the suited man. And said, I designed it. The words didn't echo. But they stayed. The suited man blinked. Once. Then smiled again. Bigger this time. Mocking. Sure you did. He turned. Walked toward the elevators. Didn't look back. The doors opened. He stepped in. Still smiling. Still confident. The doors closed. Silence returned. The guard looked at the man in the wheelchair. Hesitated. You serious? He asked. The man didn't answer right away. Instead, he turned his chair. Faced the elevators. Watched the numbers go up. Floor by floor. Then he spoke. Yes. The guard swallowed. Didn't know what to say. The man in the wheelchair rolled forward. Slow. Controlled. Purposeful. Past the lobby. Toward the same elevators. Toward the same floor. Where decisions were made. Where voices mattered. Where he hadn't been invited. The elevator doors opened again. He entered. Alone. Pressed a button. Top floor. As the doors began to close, his reflection stared back at him in the metal. Calm face. Tired eyes. Unfinished business. And just before the doors shut completely, the security guard whispered to himself. That changes everything. Ding. The conference room buzzed with quiet tension. Chairs filled. Laptops open. Voices low. Then, the door swung open. Daniel walked in. Fast. Confident. Coffee still in hand. All right, he said, dropping his folder on the table. Let's not drag this out. The room went still. People straightened. Screens turned toward him. Daniel tapped the blueprint spread across the table. This redesign, he said, is getting out of control. A woman near the window spoke carefully. It's based on accessibility recommendations. Daniel didn't look at her. It's based on overspending, he replied. A few nervous smiles. Someone cleared their throat. We're only expanding what already exists, another man added. The original design supports it. Daniel finally looked up. And the original design, he said slowly, was inefficient. Silence. He flipped a page. These widened corridors? Unnecessary. Tap. These lowered panels? Costly. Tap. These ramp adjustments? He shook his head. Excessive. The woman near the window leaned forward. They're there for a reason. Daniel smirked slightly. Yeah, he said. Optics. The word hung. Heavy. A younger employee shifted in his seat. That's not fair, he muttered. Daniel turned to him. Isn't it? A pause. No one's saying remove access, Daniel continued. We're saying, be practical. Practical for who? The woman asked. Daniel didn't hesitate. For the business. Another silence. Thicker now. He walked around the table slowly. Controlled. Measured. We can't design everything around edge cases, he added. There it was. Soft language. Sharp meaning. A few people avoided eye contact. One man looked down at his notes. Another closed his laptop halfway. Daniel noticed. And smiled faintly. Look, he said softer now. I'm not the bad guy here. No one responded. I'm just making sure we don't waste resources. The door opened. Quietly. At first, no one noticed. Then, a chair creaked. Someone turned. Then another. The room shifted. The man from the lobby rolled in. Slow. Steady. The wheelchair barely made a sound on the carpet. Daniel didn't turn yet. Still talking. And if we keep adding features like this, we're setting a precedent we can't maintain. A pause. Then, a voice from behind him. Calm. Controlled. You're already failing to maintain it. The room froze. Daniel turned. His expression changed instantly. Recognition. Then irritation. You again, he said. No greeting. No hesitation. The man in the wheelchair rolled forward slightly. Stopped near the end of the table. You're discussing changes, he said, to a structure you don't fully understand. Daniel let out a short laugh. I understand budgets, he replied. That's enough. A few uneasy glances passed around the room. The woman near the window spoke again. Daniel, maybe we should. He raised a hand, cutting her off. No, he said. Let's address this. He looked directly at the man. This is a private meeting. A beat. You're not on the list. The man didn't react. He looked around the room instead. At the faces. At the hesitation. At the silence. I wasn't invited, he said simply. Daniel nodded. Exactly. A pause. Then. So why are you here? The man's fingers rested lightly on the wheels. Still. Grounded. Because you're making decisions, he said, that affect people you're not listening to. Daniel's jaw tightened. We have consultants for that. Do you listen to them? The man asked. A flicker. Small. But visible. Daniel stepped closer. Lowered his voice. This isn't your place. The words were quiet. But sharp. Across the table, someone shifted uncomfortably. The younger employee looked between them. Then looked away. The man in the wheelchair held Daniel's gaze. No, he said calmly. It is. A beat. Daniel smiled again. But this time, it didn't reach his eyes. Let me guess, he said. You're here to tell us how hard it is. Silence. No one laughed this time. The man didn't respond immediately. Instead, he looked at the blueprint on the table. Really looked. Then he spoke. You changed the entrance angle, he said. Daniel frowned. So? You reduced the clearance by 2 inches. That's within regulation. It increases resistance. A pause. Daniel shrugged. Barely. The man nodded slightly. That barely stops someone. The room tightened. The woman near the window leaned forward again. He's right, she said quietly. Daniel shot her a look. Stay focused. I am, she replied. Another shift in the room. Small, but real. Daniel noticed. His tone hardened. Look, he said louder now. We're not redesigning the entire building for rare scenarios. There it was again. Clearer this time. Less hidden. The man in the wheelchair didn't flinch. Access isn't rare, he said. Daniel stepped closer. Now standing just a few feet away. It is in this building. The words landed. Cold. Calculated. A long silence followed. Then, a chair moved. Slowly. At the head of the table. Everyone turned. The senior director had been there the whole time. Watching. Saying nothing. Until now. He stood up. Adjusted his jacket. And looked at the man in the wheelchair. Not with confusion. Not with irritation. But with recognition. Respect. Sir, the director said quietly. We weren't expecting you today. The room went still. Completely still. Daniel blinked. Sir, he repeated. The word echoed. Different now. Heavy. The man in the wheelchair inclined his head slightly. I didn't plan to come, he said. Daniel looked between them. Back and forth. Trying to understand. Failing. Wait, he said. What is this? No one answered him. The director stepped forward. Calm. Measured. And said. Perhaps, he continued. We should let him speak. Daniel's confidence cracked. Just slightly. Let him, he started. But the words didn't finish. Because something had changed. Not loudly. Not dramatically. But enough. The room wasn't his anymore. And he could feel it. For the first time. He wasn't in control. He looked back at the man. Really looked this time. The calm posture. The steady eyes. The silence that carried weight. And suddenly, that sentence from the lobby came back. Clear. Sharp. Unavoidable. I designed it. Daniel swallowed. Slowly. Who are you? He asked. A beat. The man didn't answer. Not yet. Instead, he placed a thin folder on the table. Gently. Deliberately. And as every eye in the room dropped to it, the director spoke again. Soft. But final. You already know, he said. Silence. The folder sat in the center of the table. No one touched it. Not yet. Daniel stared at it. Then at the man. Then back at the folder again. What is this? He asked. No answer. The man in the wheelchair rested his hands lightly on the rims. Calm. Waiting. The director stepped forward. You should open it, he said. Daniel let out a short breath. Annoyed. This is unnecessary, he muttered. But his hand moved anyway. He flipped the folder open. Inside, blueprints. Old ones. Different paper. Different markings. Handwritten notes in the margins. Clean. Precise. Daniel frowned. These are outdated, he said quickly. We've already moved past. Look closer. The voice cut in. Calm. Controlled. Daniel's jaw tightened. He leaned in. Closer now. His eyes moved across the page. Measurements. Angles. Annotations. Then, he froze. There, in the corner. A signature. Small, but unmistakable. His lips parted slightly. He blinked. Once. Then again. No, he said under his breath. The room didn't move. Didn't breathe. That's not, Daniel started. It is. The man's voice didn't rise. Didn't need to. Daniel shook his head. No, he said louder. This doesn't prove anything. Anyone could. They couldn't. The director stepped beside him. Pointed to the margins. Those annotations, he said, were never digitized. A pause. They exist only here. Daniel looked again. His confidence slipped. Just a little. But enough. This doesn't make sense, he said. The man in the wheelchair leaned forward slightly. For you, he said. The words landed clean. Sharp. Daniel straightened, trying to recover. Even if, he said slowly, even if you had something to do with the original design. A beat. That doesn't give you authority here. Silence. The younger employee shifted again. The woman near the window folded her arms. Watching. Listening. The man in the wheelchair didn't react. He just looked at Daniel. Steady. Unmoved. I didn't have something to do with it, he said. A pause. Then. I let it. The room tightened. A breath caught somewhere. Daniel laughed. Too fast. Too forced. No, he said. No, that's not possible. He looked around, looking for support. Agreement. Anything. But no one spoke. No one nodded. The director stepped back slightly, giving space, letting the moment settle. Daniel's voice rose. This is ridiculous, he said. You expect me to believe, what? That you designed this entire building. Yes. One word. Simple. Final. Daniel's smile faded. Completely. His eyes narrowed. Studying him now. Really studying him. The posture. The calm. The way the room had shifted around him. And suddenly, something didn't add up. Then why, Daniel asked slowly, have I never seen you before? A beat. The man's expression didn't change. Because you weren't looking. Silence. Heavy. Daniel opened his mouth. Closed it again. The answer sat there. Uncomfortable. Unavoidable. The woman near the window spoke softly. He's listed, she said. Original architect. Lead designer. Daniel turned sharply. What? She tapped her laptop. Pulled up a document. Turned the screen toward him. There, she said. Daniel stepped closer. Looked. His face drained slightly. The name matched. Exactly. He swallowed. Hard. This must be old data, he said quickly. Records don't always update. They don't need to, the director said. Daniel looked at him. Frustration rising. What does that mean? It means, the director replied calmly, the truth doesn't change just because you missed it. A quiet ripple moved through the room. Small shifts. Small realizations. Daniel felt it. And he didn't like it. He stepped away from the table. Ran a hand through his hair. This doesn't change the current situation, he said. We're talking about redesign. About efficiency. The man in the wheelchair nodded slightly. Yes, he said. We are. A pause. Then. And you're removing the very things that made this building functional. Daniel turned back sharply. Functional for who? He snapped. The question came out harder than he intended. Too sharp. Too revealing. The room caught it. Held it. The man in the wheelchair answered without hesitation. For everyone. Daniel shook his head. No, he said. Not everyone uses this building the same way. There it was. Clear. Unfiltered. The woman near the window looked down. The younger employee stared at the table. The director didn't move. The man in the wheelchair leaned back slightly. Calm. But his eyes sharpened. No, he said quietly. They don't. A beat. That's the point. Silence filled the room again. But this time, it wasn't neutral. It leaned, slowly, away from Daniel. He felt it, every second of it, his control slipping, piece by piece. "This is getting off track," he said quickly. "We need to focus on—" "No," the man said. The interruption was soft, but firm. Final. Daniel stopped. Mid-sentence. For the first time. He didn't push through. Didn't override. Didn't dominate. He just stopped. The man in the wheelchair looked at him. Direct. Unshaken. "You questioned the design," he said. A pause. "You questioned its purpose." Another pause. "You questioned its cost." Daniel's chest tightened slightly. Then, the man leaned forward. Just enough. "And now," he said, "I'm questioning you." The words hit harder than anything before. Not loud, not aggressive, but precise. Targeted. The room held its breath. Daniel felt it. Every eye. Every shift. Every silent judgment. His voice came out lower now. Controlled. Defensive. "On what basis?" A beat. The man didn't answer immediately. Instead, he reached forward, turned one page in the folder, then another, then stopped. He tapped the paper lightly. "On decisions," he said. Daniel frowned. "What decisions?" The man looked up, eyes steady, unmoving. "The ones that quietly remove people." Silence. Deep. Uncomfortable. Daniel's throat tightened. He didn't respond. Couldn't. Because somewhere, deep down, he understood exactly what that meant. And just as the weight of that realization began to settle, the director spoke. Calm. Clear. Unavoidable. "This discussion," he said, "is no longer about design." A pause. Then, "It's about accountability." The word landed like a verdict. Daniel looked around. No support. No escape. Just eyes. Watching. Waiting. And then, the man in the wheelchair said one last thing. Quiet, but sharp enough to cut through everything. "Tell me, Daniel." A pause. Long enough to hurt. "When you made those changes." His gaze didn't move. Didn't soften. "Who did you think you were removing?" No one answered. Not Daniel. Not anyone. The question stayed in the air. Heavy. Uncomfortable. Daniel shifted his weight. "That's not what this is about," he said quickly. The man in the wheelchair didn't blink. "It is." A pause. Daniel exhaled sharply. "You're twisting it," he said. "We're talking about design efficiency, not people," the man asked. Daniel stopped. The interruption hit clean. The room tightened. "I didn't say that," Daniel replied. "You didn't have to." Silence. The woman near the window leaned forward. Slowly, watching both of them. The man in the wheelchair turned slightly. Looked at the blueprint again. Then back at Daniel. "You reduced the entrance clearance," he said. Daniel crossed his arms. "It still meets code. It fails people." A beat. "That's subjective." "No," the man said. "It's measurable." He tapped the folder. "Will resistance increases at that angle?" Daniel scoffed. "By what a fraction?" The man nodded. "Yes." A pause. Enough to stop someone. The words settled. No one argued. Daniel looked around again, searching. But the room wasn't with him anymore. He felt it, and pushed harder. "We can't design for every single scenario," he said. "There has to be a line." The man in the wheelchair tilted his head slightly. "There is," he said. A beat. "You moved it." Silence. Daniel's jaw tightened. "That's your opinion." "No," the man said again. "That's your decision." The distinction landed. Clear. Sharp. The director stepped forward slightly. Still quiet. Still watching. The man in the wheelchair continued. "You changed corridor widths." Daniel didn't respond. "You lowered door timing." Still nothing. "You removed secondary access points." A pause. Then, "You called them unnecessary." Daniel uncrossed his arms. Defensive now. "They are unnecessary in most cases." There is no most when it comes to access. The room stilled. Again, the woman near the window spoke softly. "He's right." Daniel turned sharply. "Stay out of this." "I'm in it," she replied. A flicker of tension. Small, but visible. The younger employee finally spoke, barely above a whisper. "My uncle uses a chair," he said. No one interrupted him. "He visited last month," he continued. "He couldn't get through the side entrance." A pause. "He left early." Silence. Daniel looked at him. Then away. "That's unfortunate," he said. The words fell flat. Cold. The man in the wheelchair watched him closely. You didn't see it, he said. Daniel didn't respond. You didn't feel it. Still nothing. You didn't have to. A beat. But you decided anyway. The room shifted again. More weight. More pressure. Daniel stepped forward. Voice lower now. Controlled. You're making this personal. The man shook his head. I'm making it visible. A long silence followed. Then, he leaned forward slightly, hands still resting on the wheels. You see a ramp, he said. A pause. I see independence. Another pause. You see wider space. I see dignity. Another beat. You see cost. A final pause. I see access. The words landed one by one. Heavy. Unavoidable. Daniel looked down at the blueprint. For the first time, he didn't speak. Didn't argue. Didn't deflect. He just looked. The lines. The measurements. The things he had changed without thinking twice. Without seeing who they affected. His voice came out quieter now. It's still a business. The man nodded. Yes. A pause. It is. Then. Which makes your choices more important? Daniel looked up. Frustration returning. So what do you want? He asked. Unlimited spending? No limits. The man held his gaze. I want awareness. A beat. I want intention. Another beat. I want you to understand that removing access is not neutral. Silence. It's a decision. Daniel exhaled. Hard. And what if I disagree? The man didn't hesitate. Then you're choosing who matters. The room froze. Completely. No movement. No sound. The director stepped forward again. Slow. Measured. I think we've heard enough, he said. Daniel turned. Relief flickered. Finally. Support. But it didn't last. The director continued. This redesign proposal. A pause. He looked at the blueprint. Then at Daniel. Then at the man in the wheelchair. Will not move forward. Silence. Daniel blinked. What? The word came out sharp. Uncontrolled. You heard me, the director said calmly. Daniel shook his head. No, you can't just, this is months of planning. It's flawed. The word hit hard. Daniel stared at him. Because of this? He asked, gesturing toward the man. The director didn't raise his voice. No, he said. A beat. Because of what it removes. Daniel stepped back. His control slipping faster now. This is ridiculous, he said. We're overreacting. No one agreed. No one spoke. The silence said everything. The man in the wheelchair watched him. Not angry. Not satisfied. Just steady. This was never about overreaction, he said quietly. A pause. It was about what you ignored. Daniel's chest rose slowly. Fell. He looked around the room one more time. Faces he used to lead. Now watching him differently. Measuring him. Questioning him. He swallowed. Hard. So what now? He asked. The director adjusted his jacket. Calm. Composed. Now, he said, we review every decision you've made. A beat. Closely. The words carried weight. Not loud. But final. Daniel felt it. The shift. The loss. The exposure beginning. And just as he tried to respond. To regain something. Anything. The woman near the window spoke again. Soft. But clear. There's more. The room turned toward her. Daniel frowned. What do you mean? She hesitated. Just for a second. Then opened a file on her laptop. Turned the screen slowly. Toward the director. Toward the room. Toward him. These aren't the only changes, she said. A pause. Her eyes met Daniel's. Steady now. No hesitation. You've done this before. Silence dropped. Hard. Daniel's expression shifted. Not confusion. Not denial. Something else. Recognition. And just as the weight of that realization began to settle, the director spoke again. Lower this time. Colder. Daniel. A pause. Long enough to break the room. We're going to need an explanation. No one moved. Not at first. The screen stayed turned toward the room. Rows of documents. Highlighted sections. Dates. Decisions. Patterns. Daniel stared at it. Then looked away. This doesn't prove anything, he said quickly. His voice was tighter now. Less controlled. The woman near the window didn't respond right away. She clicked once. Another file opened. These are 3 separate projects, she said. Different locations. A pause. Same changes. The younger employee leaned forward. What kind of changes? He asked. She didn't look at him. Reduced accessibility. Silence. Daniel shook his head. That's not accurate. It's documented. That's interpretation. It's impact. The words landed sharp. Clean. The room shifted again. More weight. More pressure. Daniel stepped forward, pointing at the screen. You're taking things out of context. Then give us the context, the director said. Calm, but firmer now. Daniel turned, frustration rising. These were budget adjustments, he said. Every project has them. The man in the wheelchair spoke quietly. Only some people pay the cost. Daniel didn't look at him. Not this time. I made decisions based on data, Daniel continued. Usage reports. Traffic flow. Efficiency models. The woman shook her head slightly. You removed a second ramp at the Eastbrook site, she said. Daniel exhaled. It wasn't being used. A beat. The younger employee frowned. How do you know that? Daniel hesitated. Just for a second. Then. It was reported. By who? The employee asked. Silence. Daniel didn't answer. The man in the wheelchair leaned forward slightly. Did you check? He asked. Daniel snapped. I don't need to personally verify every. Did you check? The interruption was calm, but it cut deeper. Daniel's voice dropped. No. The word was small, but loud enough. The room absorbed it. Held it. The woman near the window spoke again. There were complaints, she said. Daniel turned sharply. What complaints? She met his gaze. About access. A pause. They were marked as resolved. Daniel frowned. They were resolved. No, she said. They were closed. Silence. The difference hung there. Clear. Uncomfortable. The director stepped closer to the screen. Scrolled. Slowly. Carefully. These dates, he said. They align with your revisions. Daniel stayed quiet. Watching. Breathing heavier now. This isn't a coincidence, the director added. Daniel finally spoke. You're building a narrative. The man in the wheelchair shook his head slightly. No, he said. We're uncovering one. Another silence. Then, a chair moved. Someone at the far end of the table stood up. A woman. Mid-40s. Quiet until now. I worked on the Northbridge project, she said. All eyes turned to her. Daniel's expression tightened. I remember that, he said quickly. And everything there was approved. She nodded slowly. Yes, she said. A pause. But not everything was right. The room leaned in. Listening now. Fully. There was a delivery worker, she continued. He used the back entrance. Daniel crossed his arms. And, she swallowed. You removed the access ramp. A beat. He had to wait outside. Silence. Daniel didn't respond. She kept going. For 30 minutes, she said. In the rain. The words landed heavier than anything before. The younger employee looked down. The woman near the window closed her eyes briefly. The man in the wheelchair didn't move. Didn't speak. Daniel finally reacted. That's one situation, he said. You can't base entire design standards on isolated. It's not isolated. The interruption came from the younger employee. Stronger now. More certain. My uncle, he said again. He had the same issue. Another pause. Another shift. The room was changing. Not slowly anymore. Clearly. Daniel felt it. Every second of it. This is turning into something it's not, he said. We're here to talk about design, not emotions. The man in the wheelchair responded immediately. Design creates those emotions. Silence. Daniel looked at him. Frustrated. Cornered. And what do you expect me to do? He asked. Reverse everything? Admit I'm wrong. A beat. The man's answer came quietly. Yes. The word hit harder than anything else. Daniel laughed. Short. Bitter. That's not how this works. The director stepped forward. It is now. The room went still. Again. Daniel turned slowly. You're serious? He asked. The director didn't hesitate. We're initiating a full review, he said. A pause. Of your decisions. Daniel's chest tightened. You can't do that without. We can, the director said. Calm. Final. A long silence followed. Daniel looked around the room again. But this time, he didn't look for support. He already knew. It wasn't there. The woman near the window closed her laptop slowly. We should involve HR, she said. The words dropped like a final piece. Daniel froze. What? The director nodded once. Yes. Daniel stepped back. No, this is internal. We can handle this here. The man in the wheelchair spoke softly. You already did. Silence. Daniel's breathing grew heavier. Faster. This is overkill, he said. You're blowing this out of proportion. The director looked at him. Not angry. Not emotional. Just clear. This is proportionate, he said. A pause. To the pattern. The word echoed. Pattern. Daniel's shoulders dropped slightly. Not fully, but enough. The pressure was real now. Unavoidable. The younger employee spoke again. Quiet, but firm. There are emails, he said. Daniel turned sharply. What emails? The employee hesitated, then looked at the woman near the window. She gave a small nod. He swallowed, then said, Instructions. A beat. To prioritize cost over access. Silence. Daniel didn't move. Didn't speak. The room felt smaller. Tighter. Closing in. The director's voice came lower now. Controlled. Daniel, he said, we need you to step back from all active projects. A pause. Effective immediately. The words landed like a final shift. Authority. Removed. Daniel's mouth opened slightly. But no words came out. Because for the first time, he didn't have control. He didn't have the room. He didn't have the narrative. He only had the truth. And just as that realization settled, a knock came at the door. Soft, but sharp enough to cut through everything. No one moved at first. Then, the director turned. Come in. The door opened. Two people stepped inside. Formal. Composed. Watching. HR. The room went completely still. And Daniel, for the first time, looked uncertain. The room changed the moment they walked in. Quieter. Colder. More official. Two HR representatives stepped forward. One carried a tablet. The other a thin file. Good afternoon, the woman said. We'll need everyone to remain seated. No one argued. No one moved. Daniel stood frozen near the table. His hands slightly clenched. This is unnecessary, he said. We can resolve this internally. The man with the tablet looked at him. This is internal. A pause. Formal internal. Silence. The distinction settled quickly. Daniel exhaled. Sharp. The director stepped aside, giving them space. Control had shifted again. Completely. We'll begin with a few questions, the woman said. She glanced at the screen. Then at Daniel. Your recent design modifications, she continued. Can you explain the criteria behind them? Daniel straightened slightly, trying to regain ground. They were based on efficiency models, he said. Usage rates. Cost-benefit analysis. Documented where? The man asked. Daniel hesitated. In internal reports. Which reports? A beat. I don't have them on hand. The man tapped his tablet. We do. Silence. The screen changed. New documents appeared. Emails. Charts. Redline notes. Daniel's name attached to all of them. The woman spoke again. These emails indicate repeated directives to reduce accessibility features. Daniel shook his head. That's not accurate. She read aloud. Minimize secondary access points unless absolutely necessary. A pause. Is this your instruction? Daniel swallowed. It's standard language. The man looked up. For what? Daniel didn't answer. The silence stretched. Then, the man in the wheelchair spoke. Quiet. Measured. Define necessary. Daniel turned to him. Frustration flickering again. It means what's required. Required by who? The man asked. Another pause. Daniel's voice dropped. By policy. The woman shook her head slightly. Policy sets minimums, she said. A beat. Your decisions went beyond that. Daniel's jaw tightened. That's called leadership. No, she replied. That's called discretion. Silence. The word landed differently. Sharper. The man with the tablet scrolled again. There are also complaints, he said. Daniel's shoulders stiffened. They were resolved. They were closed, the woman corrected. A pause. Daniel looked away. The room felt tighter now. More focused. More direct. The man in the wheelchair leaned slightly forward. Did you read them? He asked. Daniel didn't answer. Did you understand them? Still nothing. Did you meet the people who filed them? Daniel snapped. I don't have time to personally engage every. Exactly. The interruption came soft. But it cut through everything. Daniel stopped. The word hung. Heavy. Unavoidable. The director watched closely now, saying nothing, letting it unfold. The HR woman continued. We also reviewed access logs, she said. Daniel frowned. What does that have to do with anything? They show limited use of certain entry points. Daniel nodded quickly. Exactly. A beat. That's why they were removed. The man with the tablet looked up. Or avoided. Silence. Daniel blinked. What? Low usage doesn't always mean low need, the man said. A pause. It can mean barriers. The room absorbed that. Slowly. Deeply. The younger employee shifted in his chair. That makes sense, he murmured. Daniel looked at him. Frustrated. You're not part of this. I am, the employee replied quietly. A shift. Small. But clear. Daniel looked away again. The pressure building. Layer by layer. The HR woman spoke again. There's another concern, she said. Daniel closed his eyes briefly. Then opened them. What now? She held his gaze. Pattern decision-making. The word returned. Pattern. This time heavier. More official. What pattern? Daniel asked. The man with the tablet turned the screen. 3 projects. Side by side. Highlighted sections. Matching revisions. Matching reductions. Matching outcomes. Daniel stared at it. Longer this time. He didn't speak. Didn't interrupt. Didn't deflect. Because now, it was visible. Clear. Connected. This suggests consistent prioritization, the woman said. Daniel finally spoke. Low. Tight. I prioritized efficiency. At the expense of access, she replied. Silence. Daniel shook his head slowly. That's your interpretation. No, the man said. It's the outcome. A long pause followed. Daniel's breathing was heavier now. Slower. Measured. Like he was trying to hold something together. Something slipping. The man in the wheelchair watched him. Not angry. Not satisfied. Just steady. Intent matters, Daniel said quietly. The HR woman nodded. Yes. A beat. But impact matters more. The words landed hard. Daniel didn't respond. Couldn't. Because for the first time, he had no counter. No deflection. No control. The director stepped forward again. We'll be placing you on temporary suspension, he said. A pause. Pending full review. Daniel looked up sharply. What? The word cracked. Not controlled anymore. You can't just. We can, the director said. Calm. Final. Daniel stepped back. His balance shifting. This is unfair, he said. You're acting like I did something wrong. No one answered. The silence was answer enough. The man in the wheelchair spoke softly. You removed access. A pause. You removed people. Daniel looked at him. Something in his expression changed. Not anger. Not arrogance. Something closer to realization. Too late. The HR woman closed her file. We'll need your badge, she said. The room went still. Again. Daniel didn't move. Didn't react. For a second, he just stood there. Then slowly, he reached into his pocket. Pulled it out. Held it. A small piece of plastic. But heavy now. He placed it on the table. The sound was quiet. But final. The man with the tablet stepped forward. Collected it. Thank you, he said. Daniel looked around the room one last time. At the faces. The silence. The distance. Then he turned. Started toward the door. Slow. Unsteady. But just before he reached it, he stopped. Didn't turn around. Didn't face them. He just spoke. Low. Controlled. This isn't over. Silence. No one responded. The door opened. He stepped out. And it closed behind him. The room stayed quiet. Still. Heavy. The director exhaled slowly. We'll continue the review, he said. The HR team nodded. The woman near the window looked at the man in the wheelchair. You okay? She asked softly. He nodded. Yes. But his eyes still carried something. Not victory. Not relief. Something deeper. The cost. The weight. The memory of every moment that led here. And just as the room began to settle, the HR man looked at his tablet again. His expression shifted. Slightly. Concerned. There's one more thing, he said. The room stilled. Again. What is it? The director asked. The man hesitated. Then turned the screen slowly. Toward them. Toward the man in the wheelchair. Toward the truth. These decisions, he said quietly. A pause. Long enough to change everything. They didn't start with Daniel. The words didn't settle. They spread. Slow. Cold. Uncomfortable. They didn't start with Daniel. No one spoke. The room felt smaller. Tighter. The director stepped forward. What do you mean? He asked. The HR representative glanced at the screen. Then back at him. These revisions, he said, follow an earlier pattern. A pause. Older approvals. Higher level. Silence. The woman near the window frowned. You're saying this goes beyond him? The man nodded. Yes. The younger employee shifted. Then why was he the one making the calls? Because he enforced them, the HR woman replied. A beat. He normalized them. The words landed hard. Daniel's absence suddenly felt different. Less like the end. More like the beginning. The director ran a hand slowly across the table. Thinking. Careful. Who approved the original changes, he asked. The HR man hesitated. Then. Executive board review. Silence dropped again. Heavier this time. The system. Not just the person. The man in the wheelchair watched quietly. Processing. Not surprised. Just confirmed. I've seen this before, he said. The room turned toward him. The director nodded slightly. Then help us understand. A pause. The man's hands rested lightly on the wheels. Grounded. They don't remove access all at once, he said. They reduce it slowly. A beat. Quietly. Another beat. So no one notices until it's gone. The words settled deep. The woman near the window whispered. That's exactly what happened. The younger employee nodded. My uncle said the same thing, he added. He thought it was just one door, then another, then. He stopped. Didn't finish. Didn't need to. The director looked at the HR team. We need full transparency, he said. A pause. Every decision. Every layer. The HR woman nodded. You'll have it. But her expression stayed serious. Careful. Because they all knew. This was bigger now. Much bigger. Later that day. The lobby felt different. Quieter. The same marble floors. The same glass walls. But something had shifted. The man in the wheelchair moved slowly across the entrance. This time, he didn't struggle. Someone had already adjusted the threshold. Temporary fix. But noticeable. He paused. Looked down at it. Then forward. The door stayed open longer now. He noticed that too. Always noticing. Footsteps approached behind him. He didn't turn. He already knew who it was. I didn't expect to see you here. Daniel's voice. Lower now. Less sharp. The man turned slowly. Daniel stood a few feet away. No badge. No confidence. Just quieter. I came to get my things, Daniel said. A pause. Then. I wanted to talk. The man in the wheelchair didn't respond right away. Just watched him. Daniel shifted slightly. Uncomfortable. I didn't know, he said. The words came out carefully. Measured. The man tilted his head. About what? Daniel exhaled. About the impact. A beat. I thought I was just doing my job. Silence. The man held his gaze. That is the problem, he said. Not harsh. Not loud. But direct. Daniel nodded slowly. I see that now. A pause. Then. I was wrong. The words stayed in the air. Real. But not enough. The man in the wheelchair didn't soften. Didn't step closer. You didn't see people, he said. Daniel swallowed. I do now. A beat. The man shook his head slightly. No, he said. You see consequences. Silence. Daniel didn't argue. Couldn't. Because he knew. That was true. A long pause followed. Then Daniel spoke again. What happens to me, he asked. The question was quiet. Uncertain. The man looked at him. Calm. That depends, he said. On what? A beat. On what you understand. Daniel frowned slightly. I said I was wrong. That's a start. A pause. Not an end. The words landed steady. Daniel nodded slowly. Trying to process. Trying to catch up. Behind him, the elevator doors opened. A group stepped out. Executives. Serious faces. Focused. Moving fast. The director among them. He walked straight toward Daniel. No hesitation. We need you upstairs, he said. Daniel tensed. For what? The director didn't soften. For a formal hearing. Silence. Daniel looked at him. Then at the man in the wheelchair. Then back. Now, he asked. Yes. A beat. Daniel nodded slowly. Resigned. Okay. He turned. Started walking. Then stopped. Looked back one last time. I meant what I said, he added. The man in the wheelchair didn't respond. Just watched him. Steady. Unmoved. Daniel turned again. Followed the group. Into the elevator. The doors closed. The lobby fell quiet again. The man in the wheelchair remained still for a moment. Then, the woman from the meeting approached. Soft steps. Careful. You handled that well, she said. He shook his head slightly. It's not about handling, he replied. A pause. It's about fixing. She nodded. Yes. Then hesitated. There's something else, she said. He looked at her. What? She lowered her voice. The board didn't just approve those changes, she said. A beat. They're planning to expand them. Silence. The words hit harder than anything before. Not just past damage. Future harm. The man's hands tightened slightly on the wheels. For the first time, anger flickered. Controlled. But real. They're moving forward? He asked. She nodded. Across multiple buildings. A pause. They think this situation will pass. The lobby felt colder. Heavier. The man looked toward the elevators. Then back at her. No, he said quietly. A beat. It won't. She watched him. Something shifting again. What are you going to do? She asked. The man didn't answer right away. Instead, he turned his chair. Faced the entrance. The flawed design. The temporary fix. The system behind it. Then he spoke. Calm. Certain. I'm going to finish what I started. A pause. Then, I'm going to redesign everything. Silence. But this time, it wasn't uncertainty. It was momentum. And somewhere upstairs, behind closed doors, decisions were already being made. Bigger ones. More dangerous ones. And just as the weight of that realization settled, the elevator lit up again. Top floor. Doors opening. Hearing beginning. And this time, the system was on trial. The boardroom felt colder than the rest of the building. Long table. Dark wood. Closed doors. No windows. Control lived here. Daniel sat at one end. Still. Quiet. Across from him. 5 executives. The director stood to the side. And near the center, the man in the wheelchair. Calm. Watching. Waiting. This hearing is now in session, one of the executives said. His voice was flat. Controlled. We'll review recent concerns regarding design decisions and operational conduct. A pause. Then, Mr. Daniel, you may begin. Daniel swallowed. Looked around the room. Different now. No confidence. No control. I made decisions based on efficiency, he said. A beat. I believe they were justified. Belief is not the issue, another executive replied. Impact is. Silence. Daniel nodded slowly. I understand that now. The first executive leaned forward slightly. Do you? A pause. Then explain the pattern. Daniel hesitated. His voice came out slower now. Measured. There was pressure, he said. A ripple moved through the room. From where? The director asked. Daniel looked down. Then up again. From above, he said. The word landed. Heavy. Clear. The executives exchanged glances. Small. Controlled. But noticeable. You're suggesting this was directed? One of them asked. Daniel didn't hesitate this time. Yes. Silence. The room shifted. The balance changed again. The man in the wheelchair watched closely. Not surprised. Just waiting. Be specific, the first executive said. Daniel inhaled slowly. Cost reduction targets, he said. A pause. Implicit expectations. Another pause. Repeated messaging about efficiency over excess. The phrase echoed. Familiar. Dangerous. The woman executive spoke next. And how did you interpret that? Daniel looked at her. I interpreted it as a directive, he said. To reduce what wasn't visibly necessary. Silence. And who defines visible? She asked. Daniel didn't answer. Because now, he knew. That was the problem. The man in the wheelchair leaned forward slightly. You removed what you couldn't see, he said. Daniel nodded once. Yes. A pause. I did. The room absorbed it. No defense. No denial. Just truth. The first executive spoke again. This organization does not support discrimination. The words sounded practiced. Prepared. The man in the wheelchair spoke immediately. Then why was it built into the system? Silence. The question cut deeper than anything before. No one answered. Not right away. The director stepped forward slightly. This is what we need to address, he said. A pause. Not just individual decisions, but structural ones. The room shifted again. Now, it wasn't about Daniel. Not anymore. The man in the wheelchair looked around the table. At each executive. One by one. Calm. Unshaken. You approved the framework, he said. No accusation in his tone. Just fact. The woman executive leaned back slightly. Careful. We approved guidelines, she said. Not outcomes. The man nodded. Yes, he said. A pause. But those guidelines created the outcomes. Silence. The connection was clear now. Unavoidable. The first executive folded his hands. What are you proposing? He asked. The question changed everything. From defense to action. The man in the wheelchair didn't rush. Didn't hesitate. I'm proposing a redesign, he said. A beat. Not of the building. Another beat. Of the system. Silence. The words landed. Heavy. Wide. The director nodded slightly. Go on. The man continued. Mandatory accessibility audits, he said. Independent review panels. A pause. User-based testing, not just compliance checks. The executives listened. Carefully now. Real voices, he added. Not assumptions. The younger executive frowned slightly. That would increase cost. The man met his gaze. Yes. A beat. But it would reduce harm. Silence. The trade-off sat there. Clear. Honest. The woman executive spoke again. And who leads this redesign? The question was direct. Focused. The man didn't look away. I will, he said. The room stilled. Completely. Daniel looked up. For the first time, there was something in his eyes. Not fear. Not anger. Respect. The first executive leaned back. Studying him. You're asking for authority, he said. No, the man replied. I'm asking for accountability. Silence. The difference mattered. More than anything else. The director stepped forward. I support this, he said. A pause. Fully. Another shift. The room leaned. Slowly. Toward decision. The first executive looked around the table. At each member. One by one. Then. He nodded. Provisional approval, he said. A pause. Pending formal review. The words carried weight. But also. Movement. Progress. Daniel exhaled quietly. A release. But it didn't last. Because the woman executive spoke again. There's still the matter of responsibility, she said. The room tightened. Again. Daniel's shoulders stiffened. The first executive nodded. Yes. A pause. Mr. Daniel, your role in this pattern is clear. Daniel didn't argue. Didn't defend. He just listened. You enforced these decisions, the executive continued. A beat. You ignored their impact. Daniel nodded slowly. I did. Silence. The admission sat there. Real. Final. The executive continued. Your employment is terminated. The words were clean. Sharp. Final. Daniel closed his eyes briefly. Then opened them. No reaction. No protest. Just acceptance. I understand, he said. A pause. Then. Thank you. The room shifted again. But this time. Not with tension. With closure. Daniel stood slowly. Looked at the man in the wheelchair. Held his gaze. I hope you fix it, he said. The man nodded. I will. Daniel turned. Walked toward the door. No hesitation. No delay. He opened it. Stepped out. And it closed behind him. The room remained still. But something had changed. Not just power. Direction. The first executive looked at the man in the wheelchair. We'll need a full proposal, he said. You'll have it, the man replied. A pause. Soon. The director stepped closer. This is a start, he said. The man shook his head slightly. No, he said. A beat. It's a correction. Silence. Then. The woman near the window entered quietly. She carried a folder. Urgent. Focused. We have a problem, she said. The room turned. What is it? The director asked. She placed the folder on the table. Opened it. Photos. Layouts. Plans. Other buildings, she said. A pause. They've already implemented the same changes. Silence. Heavy. Immediate. The man in the wheelchair looked down at the images. Then up again. Eyes sharper now. Focused. They moved faster than we thought, he said. The first executive leaned forward. How many locations? She swallowed. More than 10. The room went still. Again. The scale hit. Hard. This wasn't one building. One mistake. One decision. It was a system. Already spreading. Already built. The man in the wheelchair placed his hands firmly on the table. For the first time, there was urgency in his voice. Then we don't just redesign, he said. A pause. Long enough to shift everything. We rebuild. Silence. But this time, it wasn't hesitation. It was realization. And just as the weight of that moment settled, the director spoke. Low. Serious. We're going to need more than approval. A beat. We're going to need exposure. The word landed like a spark. And suddenly, this wasn't just internal anymore. It was about to go public. And once it did, there would be no control left. The morning light fell through the floor-to-ceiling windows. Not warm. Not comforting. Just clarity. The man in the wheelchair sat in the center of the large office. Plans spread across the table. Maps. Layouts. Photographs. Documents from sites across the city. Every building? The younger employee asked, voice tight. Every building, the man replied. A pause. He traced a finger along one of the blueprints. See here, he said. Eastbrook. Northbridge. Central Plaza. They all followed the same pattern. Pattern. The word hung again. Daniel's absence was noticeable. A faint shadow in the background, the memory of his presence pressing against the walls. The woman near the window sighed. It's systematic, she said. Yes, he replied. And it wasn't just oversight. The younger employee leaned closer. Meaning? The man's gaze lifted. Intent, he said. Short. Sharp. Clear. Cost over access. Over safety, she whispered. Yes, he said. They valued efficiency and profit more than people. A silence fell over the room. The director stepped forward. This is larger than we thought, he said. The man nodded. It is. A pause. Then he looked at the younger employee. You see it too, right? How many people were affected? The employee swallowed. Yes. And how many didn't even realize it? The room absorbed the weight of that question. Most, he said. Exactly, the director replied. Most were never considered in the first place. The man shifted in his wheelchair. He scanned the documents again. Look here, he said. North Bridge entrance. Ramp removed. Delivery workers forced to wait outside. Residents with disabilities have limited access to public spaces. Simple doors blocked. Thresholds changed. Subtle but consistent. The younger employee's hand trembled slightly as he picked up a photograph. It's everywhere, he whispered. Yes, the man confirmed. And that's just the buildings we've identified so far. Imagine how many more went unnoticed. The woman near the window closed her laptop slowly. So what do we do? She asked. He looked at her. Expose it, he said. Expose it, she echoed. Yes, he said. To the public. To the authorities. To the people who trusted this system. The director frowned. That could be messy, he said. The man nodded. Yes. And it should be. Another silence. Then he added softly but with determination. They need to understand what was built. Not just the physical structures. The consequences. The exclusion. The harm. The younger employee looked down at the photographs again. I can't believe I didn't notice sooner, he murmured. You did notice, the man said. You just didn't have the authority to change it. That's the difference. The woman near the window spoke up. And Daniel? The man looked down briefly. He enforced it, he said. Not the architect. But he bears responsibility. Still, he's not the root. The director nodded. So the accountability goes all the way up. Yes, the man confirmed. And it needs to be visible. The younger employee hesitated. Visible how? He looked around the room. Reports. Audits. Public records. Photographs. Statements. Every project, every decision. The woman near the window's eyes widened. That's going to create backlash. The man didn't flinch. That's the point, he said. If they aren't held accountable, nothing changes. People continue to be harmed. The director exhaled slowly. This is going to take time. Yes, the man said. But it begins now. Another pause. Then he looked up sharply. Every building, every site, every decision, it's a story. And we will tell it. The younger employee's hands clenched. What about the media? He asked. He nodded. They need to know. But carefully. We cannot risk further harm. Not yet. But the truth must come out. The woman near the window leaned in. Are we ready for that? The man's eyes scanned the documents one more time. We have to be, he said. He gestured toward a stack of files. These documents, emails, memos, revisions, they show intent. Pattern. Neglect. Exclusion. Every piece matters. The younger employee swallowed again. And the public? They deserve to know, he said firmly. Not just the story of buildings, but the story of people affected. That's what changes behavior. That's what changes policy. The director ran a hand across his face. This is bigger than we imagined, he said. Yes, the man agreed. But it's overdue. Another long silence. The woman near the window finally asked. And if they resist? The man leaned forward, eyes sharp, focused. Then we make it impossible for them to ignore. The room absorbed the weight of his words. Every photograph, every blueprint, every record told the same story. A system built to exclude. A system enforced without thought. And now, finally, it would be dismantled. The younger employee looked at him. How do we even start? The man's hands rested firmly on the documents. Step 1, he said. A beat. Expose everything. A pause. Step 2. Step 2, he said, voice low but unwavering, is make sure it can never happen again. The director nodded slowly. This will change everything, he said. Yes, the man replied. And it should. The woman near the window hesitated. Are we ready for that level of scrutiny? He looked at her, eyes steady. We don't have a choice, he said. A beat. Because this isn't just about buildings. The room went silent. The damage is real. The people are real. And the system is real. He paused, then leaned forward. Step 3 is make sure they see it all. The younger employee swallowed. And if they fight back? A quiet smile. They will. And they should. The director exhaled. Then we'll be ready. The man in the wheelchair scanned the blueprints one last time. Because what was built, he said slowly, every word deliberate, is no longer untouchable. A pause. He looked directly at the team. And soon, neither will be the people who allowed it. Silence. Outside the window, the city carried on. Unaware. Until now. And the reckoning was about to begin.